Hello. Today's episode of Learn to Earn, we're going to be talking about the gears and the timing of the gears. And this is an engine that the student has taken apart, and he has a question on the letters that are on there. So you read the book. The book says that once you put the timing marks all together and rotate the engine over, the timing marks get out of time. And the reality is when you turn this, it'll take a long time. You got to keep turning and turning again before it lines back up. The reason why it gets out of time and you don't see it is they want to spread the wear out in the teeth so you don't have the same wear pattern at the same point all the time. So it's designed to be random. It's designed to do that. So looking at this one, right now if we zero in, you'll see that there's a letter C, and on the fuel cam gear there's a C. Over here it may be a little difficult, but there's a B on the camshaft and there's a B on the idler gear. Down here on the crankshaft there's an A, and there's an A on the idler pulley. But you'll notice that all those teeth are off by one. So the question I have to you is, what would happen if I were to remove this gear and rotate it one tooth? What will happen to the relationship of these three gears if I do that?
The backlash and the probably be off, or something will be off.
So, Mike, do you have any idea?
Not right off the top of my head.
Kendall?
It would not really affect the timing.
So if I were to take this gear, which is just connecting the three, if I were to remove the gear, rotate it one tooth, stick it back on, all three of these will stay in the same spot. All I've done is actually rotate an idler one tooth. If I were to rotate it one tooth, what would happen would be the two C's would line up, the two B's would line up, and the two A's would line up, which is what we were accomplishing or attempting to accomplish when you put it together. And so what I'm trying to figure out on this engine is, was the engine timed correctly to begin with? And we can verify that it was simply by removing the gear, rotating it one tooth, and putting it back on. And the fact that all three of the timing marks lined up means it was correct. If we keep rotating it over, those numbers or letters will actually start getting off, and you've already seen that, and now you've seen it. You guys, you other students will see that as you rotate it, they'll get off. They become random. The purpose of random is to spread the wear out. Otherwise, every time we went up on compression stroke on each cylinder, you would have more wear on that one tooth. And to help spread that out so we have more even, they become random. So the teeth numbers are odd, and it becomes random throughout time. So it's normal.
But they were saying that periodically they will align.
Periodically, one in every, 50, 100. I haven't really heard the exact number, but it's a large number. They'll line back up perfectly. So if you want to see it line up perfectly, you're going to be cranking this thing for a long time, trying to get there.
Well, so far the amount of many times that I've turned that to get them aligned, it maybe takes 5 or 6 to get them to that point. But so far, every time that I've done it, they've lined up to that same.
And that may be an indication that the student actually did put them in there one tooth off. It may not. I don't know that answer. So what I do find odd about this engine that I want to kind of point out, we notice that it's clean. That makes sense because it's a lab engine that's been apart. We haven't really put it into service, not really been used. But what I do find odd is, why is the top of this gear all black and why is this gear all black? And so it's like somebody took some random used parts and stuck it in this engine. This would be abnormal for an engine that would just come out of service, or it was a new engine that you took apart. And if it was true that you took an engine that was working, you would want to figure out why. Somewhere they did something strange to this engine. And so we'll be looking into it. In this case, the problem may be because it's a lab engine. And in the process of taking it apart, maybe they damaged it, so they just pulled a used one and stuck it in there. I don't know. So we'll be looking at that a little more closely. This may be the reason why it doesn't run. Maybe they actually pressed a gear on here and threw the timing off just to mess with the students and to test them. And so we're going to have to look at that pretty close. So, but the gears being off is normal. That is a design from the manufacturer, and most virtually all manufacturers will be off like that.
So from before, when I was in the diesel class, that I do know that once you take those off, when you put them back on, you'll line those marks.
So when you go back together, when we're back together, this will be the last gear to go on. You'll have your crank and your cam and your fuel cam on there, and you will line them up. So the two C's line up, the B's line up, and the A's line up. And then you know your starting point. You know that they're timed together. And then go. But anticipate even later, if you take this off, you rotate it over, they won't line up anymore.
So will that affect the position of your cylinders too?
No, once you've timed it, then everything will stay timed. It won't get
I
on
mean,
list.
as far as your pistons being at top end center, number 1 or
Yeah.
number 3, because that one's on number
Yeah,
3
the
right
book
now.
is saying
top
that
end
too.
center.
It doesn't matter, as long as my letters line up, I'm done. I don't even have to look it up here. I don't look at anything. I just have to line these 3 letters up together. And if I do that, then I've timed them together, and after that, everything will work like it's supposed to. So if we have a timing issue now, it's because this key is off or something else is wrong. There's another problem. And that's what we're going to be looking for. We're still looking for a problem with timing. And now that I see this is all black and this is silver, we're going to be looking carefully at this camshaft. And what did they do to mess with somebody? Because I think they messed with them. So, all part of the adventures here at Walla Walla Community College Outdoor Power Equipment Program. So, we'll look forward to more adventures on our Learning to Earn channel.